All right, welcome to the It's Not That Deep podcast, my Canadian brothers, Ben and Ryan. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us.
Glad to be here.
For those who don't know, you two are business coaches, mentors, and co-owners of The Consulting Guys, as well as Affluent Attraction. You guys specialize in helping like financial service businesses attract high net worth clients through automated marketing systems and organic marketing. And I know that sounds super fucking robotic because I stole it directly off Ben's LinkedIn page. But I don't know much about your other business, but I'm obviously a lot more familiar with you guys as coaches. And that's because I am enrolled in your CAPE program, which for those listening who don't know is the client acquisition immersion program that Ben and Ryan over here started together. So I wanted to kind of start at the beginning. I wanted to hear your guys' story and like how you guys would introduce yourself. So we'll start with Ryan. How would you introduce yourself?
Well, first off, we are also the co-founders of the Church of Clientology, not to be confused with Scientology, although Tom Cruise is our biggest fan. No, I think he did a good job, man. I think he covered it pretty well. Mostly we're just two guys who love to help people and, have fun doing it, right? It's pretty simple.
Absolutely. And Ben, would you add anything or take away anything from that intro?
I think that pretty much sums it up.
I think
do you want to go back into our past of how we started, or
yeah? So
where are we going with that?
That's what I'm kind of the next thing I'm going to talk about is, first of all, how do you guys even know each other? For those who don't have any context here, how does Ben and Ryan, how did you guys even fucking meet?
Great question. Well, I am from the East Coast of Canada, Halifax. Ryan is I'm in Barrie, Ontario. Yeah. And
yeah, go ahead.
Yep.
No, I was just going to say because, we might have different perceptions of how we met because it's so long ago. We were into, to put it lightly, just picking up girls, right? This was like 5 or 6 years ago. And it was through a company called RSD. We just met and we're like, hey, let's go out together because we were in the same city, right? So we're like, let's go to bars. And then we kind of just fell from there. We had a natural passion for, making money online, traveling, having freedom. And it kind of just cascaded from there. We tried a bunch of things, man. Like we had our own podcast. We tried like selling tea. We tried literally everything. And then we stumbled here like 5 or 6 years later. So that's like the short version. I don't know if Ben wants to add.
Very short version.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah. And, super, that's a great kind of high level way to put it. But, looking at you guys now as like what you've accomplished and all this cool shit that you guys are up to, a lot of people on social media and stuff are probably going to be like, man, like, what do these guys like actually do? And when you kind of get to know you guys, you're just pretty normal people who are just fucking super self-aware about what you wanted with your life. But it wasn't always that way. So let's talk about when you guys really knew that working a normal job as a 9-to-5 job as an employee it's just not the move for you. Like we wanted a different kind of lifestyle.
Well, I worked so many shitty jobs growing up from like my teenage years to like even early mid-20s. And at the same time, my dad and his wife he's always been entrepreneurial. And even my mom to a certain extent, I was just like, I don't know, something has to change. I actually met Ryan. I moved to Ontario because I graduated engineering because I thought I wanted to become like an engineer. And I realized halfway through that, like, this is horrible. Like, I'm not smart enough for this. I barely graduated and moved there. Like when we met again, like we were into like picking up girls, we weren't even doing business stuff. Like it wasn't even on the radar.
So were you guys like working a job to support yourselves at that time, or like working at an agency, or like what were you guys doing at that time when you were into this whole pickup world?
Yeah, I was doing door-to-door sales.
Yeah,
those two skills kind of they support each other,
Yeah, Ben was doing door-to-door in like minus 30 Canadian winters, Ontario. It was brutal. I was in university and doing cold calling for a wealth management firm in Ontario. Okay. So kind of the same thing.
So really in the dirt, in the trenches, that's probably where you learned a lot of like what you fucking don't do in terms of sales. And then, when was it that like you kind of things clicked in and it's like, okay, you know what? all this experience that we're using to do this for some other company, why can't I just do it for myself? Or why can't I leverage some of these things that I've learned to do my own thing and get my own clients? When was, and you know, don't let me dictate your story if it wasn't just one moment, but you know, when was it that you were just like, you know what, let's like, let me do this for myself. Let me get my first client on my own.
I mean, for myself, I honestly didn't mind the work I was doing, but then I picked up this book. I'm sure we're all familiar with it, called The 4 Hour Work Week. And I was like, man, this guy's living the life. Like, he's traveling, making money online, doesn't go to an office, doesn't wear a suit. So it wasn't like one thing that kicked it off, or one thing that made me make the change. But that book kind of put the idea in my head that, you know, there's more than going to an office. So that was it for me. It was, you know, pretty simple. The 4 Hour Work Week. The book's not the greatest tactical book, but like from like a macro perspective, it just changed my whole worldview.
Yeah, absolutely. That whole digital nomad life, like, you know, yeah, absolutely. Tim did a great job with that.
Yeah, for me, I remember working door to door and thinking it would be cool to do business stuff because, you know, love him or hate him at the time, I listened to Ty Lopez a lot, and he was like, you got to read books. And I was like, books? Like, it's almost stupid going back now, but I remember I was buying all these books and working in the winters and like slaving away. You know, it was like, it'd be slushy and it's super cold, but I would read books all the time and people would be like, why are you reading? Anyway, I read this one book. It was called The Education of Millionaires, which is like the most clickbait title in the world, probably, you know, but it spoke about this, like direct response marketing world, this internet marketing stuff, talk about like Frank Kern, Dan Kennedy, Gary Halbert, all these like legends in the marketing world. And it was just like this new, it was like a light bulb for me went off. I was like, holy shit, like this sounds awesome. And I think I can be really good at this. So I actually, like, that led me into marketing and studying copywriting and sales and all that stuff and going really deep.
And would you describe at that time, like when you were just starting to get into it, like you kind of knew that, okay, this is it, this is what I'm going to do, like copywriting, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to start my own business? Or was it more just like, yeah, this is super interesting, let's just see like if I can, you know, get some kind of other job or get some more opportunities out of this?
Yeah, I know for me, I was like, my goal is in the next 3 years, as soon as I read this book, I was like, I'm going to like become the best freelance copywriter. Like, I wanted to go freelance. I didn't know anyone did freelancing stuff. I was like, I just, you know, I'm reading about other people doing it. I was like, I think I can do this. And I'm just going to learn as much as I can. And it was like, that was kind of like this starting point for me.
Well, I really like that. Like, we were kind of able to put that little foundation so that people listening kind of have an idea of like what your guys like kind of high level backgrounds are about. Cause like, I'll just share with you, you know, from my perspective as somebody who did go through university, fucking hated it. I even studied international business thinking like, oh yeah, I'm going to be this international businessman, whatever that means. And I graduated, made it out of that. And, then I'm like, you know, I got this 9-to-5 job and, you know, pays like pretty well and decent, but I'm like, man, I'm just like, something's missing. I know I'm supposed to be doing more, but I always had this idea in my head and, you know, whatever conditioning from like, you know, all childhood and growing up with immigrant parents and scarcity mindset and all this stuff. But it's like, I didn't think I was an entrepreneur. I didn't think like I thought you were either born an entrepreneur or you're not. And I thought there was a such thing as like a businessman. Like, I don't know why I just had this false idea that you either got it or you don't. And I was just thought, oh no, I'm an athlete. Like I do this, I do that. I identified with all kinds of different things. And so while I was working this job, you know, I got super bored. And that's when I kind of started this podcast. And that's when I started meeting a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of people who just decided that just being an employee was not enough for them. They wanted another challenge. They wanted to make some money. They wanted freedom. They wanted to do a lot of these things. And the idea was really attractive to me. And then at the end of 2019, you know, I had already been following Ryan on Twitter for a little while. And I always see people retweeting his shit, and like, you know, a lot of his content resonated. Like, it was really relatable. It's just like, do you want to fucking quit your 9-to-5 and work for yourself and do this and that? Here's what you need to do. Like, don't make it overcomplicated. And I was just like, man, like, who is this guy and why is he an authority? What the fuck does he know? You know, that's like, you know, when you're scrolling and seeing this shit, and I followed him and I kept seeing it and I kept hammering. And I guess I had joined one of those Facebook groups or the email list or one of those things. I forgot the order, right? But for me, one of the most interesting things was I knew what was happening. I like intuitively, I knew, okay, I'm seeing some content. I know that it's leading me down kind of a funnel, and I'm okay with it because I like what I'm getting from it. And so I joined this group and I keep seeing more and more value as I go up. And then I'm part of this email list for a little while. And, you know, me personally, I'm kind of like going through it. I'm like, I need to be a businessman. I need to like, quit this job. I need to travel the world, do all this, all that Tim Ferriss stuff, right? Then when I joined Cape, or I'll even go before that, I'll tell people the whole story about my mindset at this time, right? And because my relationship with money was extremely different before I met you guys. And that's why I'm kind of telling this long story. But it was like, I looked at the price tag of what it was going to be to join this program that you guys built. And I was like, bro, like, I don't even remember what it is right now, what it was back then. But it was just like, I was like, these guys must be scammers. Like, they must just take my money and like, it's some bullshit course. And like, what the fuck are they talking about, you know? But my mindset was so like not there yet that I was like, I'm going to join this thing. Yeah, it was just straight up whack. And I'm okay admitting this now because I know that a lot of people listening to this might be in that kind of same mentality. And I come across these people every day. And mind you, I'm like not even a year removed from legitimately thinking like this. But I'm like, yo, maybe because they're Canadian, they'll give me like the hometown discount. Like, you know, maybe they'll just be bros, you know?
I remember that.
So I was just like, hey guys, like ready to change my life, ready to like join this group and all this shit. But like, yo, can you help a brother out on this, like whatever US dollars? I think it was like, I don't know, 2,000. I don't remember, $2,000. And now I look at $2,000 a very different way. But at the time it was like, whoa, bro, that's 2 months rent. Like that's what the fuck? Why would I spend that? And anyways. So I remember the response that I got back. Sorry, go ahead.
Tell them the response first. Tell Ryan's response.
Yeah. Well, just super quickly, I just want to say I was the exact same way. Like for me, though, it wasn't Ryan. It was Sam Ovens. And his course was 2,000 US. And instead of buying it, this is just a moment of transparency, I torrented it. And I never used it.
I actually bought that course.
And bought it, yeah. I remember I asked for his login. But I was the exact same way. Yeah. But anyway, sorry, go ahead.
No, and that was the thing, right? Like I had been used to consuming content for so cheap and so for free that I almost like in my own head lowered the value of what it is. So, I almost discounted it in my head before I even looked at like what I'd be getting and like how this could change me moving forward. And so I asked for this discount, and I just remember the response that I got back was, "Hey man," it was something like, "Hey man, like we don't think you're ready for this right now. Like we're questioning your decision-making ability. Like, what are you talking about? Like $300? Like the
exchange,
to be fair, our exchange rate, like, Canada's fucking dollars shit. But that's aside from the point. I was asking for a discount. That's really what it was. At the end of the day, I'm like, hey, just being a fucking just being that Indian dude trying to bargain on everything, right? And so that really clicked with me, and I'm just like, maybe they have a good point. Like, why am I like stressing over a few $100? Like maybe that's why. And so long story short, joined the program, and one of the first modules you guys have has nothing to do with business on like a high level. Like I was so surprised. I'm like, I thought I'd be learning these like tactics, like, yo, this is what you need to do to start your agency. Some Ty Lopez shit. I thought it'd be some like Ty Lopez, like, this is your social media marketing blueprint, and you gotta like go to 10 donut shops. Anyways, so I joined it, and the first module is talking all about mindset and identity, and sit down and write down your ideal self. Actually build, and without giving away everything that you guys are talking about, but it's legit. bridging that gap between who you are now and who you want to be. And that was so transformational for me, because I actually took it to heart, and I actually sat down and I thought this shit through. And I just think that right there alone is an exercise that most people don't like have that conversation with themselves. And so let's first, like, you know, on this podcast, talk about that. What made you guys realize that it's the mind before anything else that has to change?
Like, we basically hired coaches in the past and realized that ourselves. We're like, you know, like, it was, I find there's people are either super tactical or they're super like woo woo, like on like the law of attraction kind of side. They think they can just attract, you know, whatever they want or manifest or whatever, you know, or they're just like, just tell me what to say, tell me the exact scripts to say, tell me what to do, you know. But it's like bridging that is where you get a lot of, you know, power, for lack of a better word. I find like the reason why we added it to our program, because we didn't initially teach it, is we had a lot of guys join, and we didn't even bother with the mindset stuff, because we just kind of like thought, let's just tell them what to do. And people weren't getting as good results. And we're like, well, what are we missing here? Like, do you remember that, Ryan?
Yeah. And just to kind of step back before I go there, it's the big thing for me was seeing guys who I thought were less intelligent than myself, who were succeeding. Right. And I was like, you know, why are they succeeding? And then I ended up realizing that, you know, they have the right beliefs, which dictate the right actions. Right. So it all goes back to beliefs. It's nothing to do with, you know, intelligence. But yeah, like in regards to the program, like, you know, that was the biggest thing, is like guys were building a business, but their mind, you know, their body wasn't in the right place. And, you know, as we all know, your body or your business is just an extension of yourself. So we put a huge emphasis on like, let's make these people not only like building a good business, but people who are capable of running a good business. So
and that's the biggest word right there. Capable.
Yeah.
Become the person capable of doing that, because subconsciously a lot of us, we have such negative thoughts and we tell ourselves such negative shit. We got so much head trash just of how we've been programmed, or our environment, or victim mentality, all this kind of stuff, that just going through life, you actually don't believe that you're capable of that shit. And so that was like the biggest flipping of the switch, right?
Yeah. I think a lot of people won't even start a business just because they literally don't have that belief. Like for myself and Ryan, we just thought we could do it, so we just tried shit, and maybe our pain tolerance was a bit higher. Because I know for myself, I did a whole bunch of dumb shit when I was starting our business that didn't work. But we just had that belief that we could do it, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think like if you don't have, you can tell someone exactly what to do. You know, like you look at the reason why some people say, how come, you know, people know exactly what to do, but they're still broke or they're still fat. You know, it has to be part of it, is that belief that, you know, that they can change and that they can do this. And, you know, they are the type of person who can make a business, like, right? Like you even mentioned it yourself that you thought, oh, I'm just not that type of person. You know, like, you know, I used to listen to like Gary Vee, and he's like, you have to have the entrepreneurial DNA. And I always thought that was, I was like, man, I don't think I have that, you know, because like I never did anything entrepreneurial growing up. I didn't have like a lemonade stand or, you know, I actually sold gum when I was in elementary, but
no,
like,
I could relate 1,000%, dude. I like, you know, I mowed lawns and I hustled and I did things, but I didn't like have that like, oh man, I can get this for X and sell it for Y. And you know, like just that mindset of just like, yo, money's everywhere and abundance of like, you know, it was just never there for me. I come from a family of just work hard for a long time, and good things probably will come to you.
Just
like,
keep working.
Just keep working. And I just really like, I knew that there's something wrong with that, because if the function was only hard work, then like construction workers and like plumbers and like people who are fucking work grinding would all be fucking
ditch diggers would be the richest people in the world.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so the big thing there, like, you know, and the reason I kind of tell all this is because, you know, I still kind of went against what my natural instincts were to like, yo, these guys are scammers. Like, yeah, he's got a cool Twitter feed, but you know, what's he really done? He's posting all these screenshots. And I see those every day, and they're kind of hammering away at me. And like, you're like, man, how many, like, you can't fake that many screenshots. Like, there's got to be something to this program here. And I've always thought that, you know, maybe I could do business. Like, maybe I just need the right, like the right situation. Everything just has to kind of fall into place. And then, you know, get into the CAPE program. And the reason I talk so highly of it is because, not just because of like the modules. If I'm going to be completely honest, like the course material is such a small part of like the benefits that you get from it. To me, the biggest thing is the accountability. And if I'm being 1000% transparent and honest, it's seeing other motherfuckers in the group crushing it and posting their wins. And like, the competitor in me, the athlete in me is just like, yo, man, this motherfucker could do it. Why can't I? And it's not like a negative thing. That's actually, I think, a beautiful thing. I think it's good, because it's all like, we can all build each other up and level up together. And so that's, I think, probably the most important thing is like, whatever money I paid now, I can't even tell you what the amount was because I don't remember. The value I have gotten is so much more. The network, the people that I've been able to bounce ideas off. I've fucking started a business. I'm still nowhere close to where I need to be, but I took the biggest step this year, and I started, and I've changed some of the mindset things, and I've got some clients now. I've got the base of an agency, and to me, I do credit having coaches and having accountability and having a program of people, like-minded people who are hustling and leveling up.
Yeah, that's what it's about, man. Just leveling up your environment. And just to quickly, just a little bit off tangent is like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that when I started my business, I had the best mindset, right? I didn't. I was like a degenerate, but I put myself because, just to kind of say a little of my story is like, you know what OSAP is, Deepak, right? And for those of you who don't know what it is, it's like a student loan you get, right? In my last semester of school, I was getting paid a little bit for my job, but I put my OSAP money into the stock market. I think I made like $2,000. With 1,200 of that, I bought a flight to Ukraine, and the other 800, I just went to Ukraine, right? So I put myself into a position where I had to force myself to succeed. Otherwise, I'd have to go back to Canada with my tail between my legs. So I had the worst mindset, right? But sometimes you have to put yourself into that kind of position where you're like, I have to make it or else. So
yeah, I think that's really important, man, because and even me now, I still haven't fully gotten over that. I still think that's something that I'm still actively working on, because I still have my job. I'm still technically working my job. And I think a part of that, and I'll be completely open and honest about that, is that it's like having that comfort there, that fallback option is, it's a drug. It's addictive. They say, like, I saw some quote somewhere. It was like, the only thing more addictive than heroin is a bi-weekly paycheck. And I completely agree. Now there are some other factors involved. It's not like I need that money or whatever. It's just I think it's really important to put yourself into situations where it's just like, I got to make this happen. And if I don't wake up and hustle and make shit happen, nothing's going to happen. And I am starting to feel that now with the business and some of the people that I talk to. That right there is more motivating than any money. That right there is more motivating than any, like, whatever rewards, like all these people like want to focus on is like that Gary Vee, that Instagram hustle, like whatever, all that shit. But I think if you drill it down, man, the fucking most important thing is like waking up and feeling like, if I don't do it, no one will.
Yeah. Nobody's coming to save you,
Yeah.
You're a president.
It depends what you
here in
value.
the States, Justin Trudeau here, like, it's on you. If you want to live an extraordinary life, you have to do it. And you have to take action. You have to invest in yourself. Yeah. That's what I realized. I didn't have the mindset either. I guess when we got into pickup stuff, I broke up with my girlfriend. I was like, how do I get a new girlfriend? I got into the pickup world, which, it's about getting girls, but also you become a better person because it's, there's all kinds of mindset stuff around that.
Yeah.
The first book I read. Yeah, dude, the first book I read, like was this one, Awaken the Giant Within by Tony Robbins. And I credit like books like this to a lot of my mindset, like way before I even started a business, you know. But yeah.
And let's talk about pickup for a second, man, because I don't I don't know much about that side of things. That's never really been something that I've ventured out to focus on. But I think there's a lot of parallels in your mindset towards women and getting women and business and sales in a way. I think it is sales. It pretty much is the same thing, right? And so talk to me about some of the biggest lessons and takeaways from that whole world without, obviously getting into crazy things.
Yeah. Like you could take so many principles from that world and translate it into business directly, like outcome independence. You know, if you go to talk to, a girl, for example, or you're on a sales call, outcome independence is like, whether or not she goes home with you or, she just rejects you, you don't really care. And you're kind of doing it just for the sake of doing it. It releases a lot of that neediness and stuff, which tends to repel people. That's a big one.
Yeah, that desperation.
Desperation, yeah.
Because that comes through in ways that like you can't really even pinpoint. Like there's not even like sometimes it's not even one thing that you did. It's just your whole vibe, your whole energy. Vibe. It's like and I've seen that in both fields. You know what I'm saying? Like with women and with like a sales call. If you need this to happen, if you gotta get that, it's not gonna happen. Like it's not. And the minute you let that go, the minute you are not dependent on that outcome, you're gonna close.
There you go. What about you, Ryan? I know you probably have stuff to add to this conversation.
No, I think you got it. I mean, I think the biggest thing for me was like the frame and state control in pickup, which is about like being so like having such like inner confidence that no matter what happens, like you're still, like it's not going to affect your state or your mood. And on sales calls, like if you let, if someone insulted you on a sales call, if you let that impact like your day, it would ruin the rest of your calls, right? So it was the same in pickup where it's like if you take a rejection and you're like, this person hates me, like am I not worthy of her? Right? So it's like controlling your state, your frame, and just being so confident in yourself that, you don't really care.
Now
that was the biggest thing for me.
I would say that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just to quickly say, I would say that kind of ties into how you became the Twitter god that you are today, just having that self-confidence, if you want to maybe talk about that.
No, it's just like, and this goes back to, just to go back to like the last topic is like, to become an entrepreneur, I think that you really need a why, right? Like what's going to pull you, like what vision of yours, like there's a sales guy like named Eli Weil who talks about it. It's like, like you have like your values, your beliefs, then you have your identity, and then you have like your mission. Like your mission is what pulls you towards the right actions. And my why, part of it anyways, is just freedom, right? It wasn't even like the monetary aspect. Mm-hmm. So it was just being free and being able to say what I wanted to say. And that's why on Twitter, I just say whatever I want because, and this is what goes back to like the golden handcuffs. Like some people are happy with that biweekly paycheck, the pension when they hit 65 or 70, like however old it is now. So they're like, you know what, I don't want more than this. But myself, it's like, I want freedom. Like I want to say what I want and do what I want. Yeah. And you just can't do that working for someone else. But yeah, just going back to what Ben said, like just saying what you want is the biggest thing that I want anyways.
Absolutely, man. And I think, freedom is that is one of the fucking biggest things right there because, I know a lot of people who get into business and they might say one thing or another, but like once you kind of dig a little deeper and you talk to them, it's like, oh, okay, I get it now. You want like fame, like you wanted something different. You want like you saw someone get in a private jet and drive a Ferrari and this and that. And like I'm not gonna sit here and just shit on those things completely because there's some validity in external validation to a certain degree, right? But different strokes, right? Like so for me, it was always about that freedom, like the 4 different types of freedom, like like freedom of time, freedom of money, freedom of relationships, and just freedom to be creative, be yourself. And like what you're saying, Ryan, is to say what you want. You guys earlier, you guys asked me, yo, is this podcast PG? And like, you're not the first person to ask me that because it's like, often in today's world and today's society, we have to kind of filter ourselves and wear a different hat for different situations. And that was one of the main reasons I started this, is like, I got enough of that at my job, bro. And there's probably people like higher ups at my job listening to this shit thinking, man, like I feel the same way, but I can't speak about it. So I'm just
Yeah.
like, I'm just going to speak however I want. I'm going to say whatever I want. I'm going to talk to whoever I want. I'm going to do whatever I want. And like, let's see who's going to stop me. And it's like a weird chip on my shoulder. But at the same time, it's like, if you take that away from me, what do I have left? You know what I'm
I
saying?
just know you live in Canada, man. I was like, I just want to make sure Deepak doesn't get banned. Because as Ben knows, like, you know, I will say whatever is on my mind.
No, absolutely, man. And you know, we could definitely sit here and go into each of those kinds of more controversial topics. But I think, you know, for even this first podcast right now that we get on together, because I know there's going to be multiple. This is just one of the first, right? But I think for the people listening, for my audience, a lot of people who listen to this are in the same situation I was in when I was asking you guys for a discount. It's a lot of people who still have that 9 to 5. It's a lot of people who are still commuting to work. Well, not these days, but a lot of people who still want something more. They still want that freedom. They still want to maybe start a side hustle, or, you know, you guys talk about freelancing a lot and actually going from that to starting a business. So that's why, actually, you know what? Let's just go into the next topic. That's kind of what I want to talk about a little bit more. Let's talk about the difference between having a side hustle and some kind of thing that, you know, you could sell some service for, you're still kind of exchanging time to do something. The difference between that and an actual business. Let's talk about that.
Side hustle is basically you doing everything with no systems, no real strategy. You know, it's just like you're kind of doing it on the side, and that's what it is. A business is something, you know, can create a repeatable outcome for clients, and you can create money, and it's you have that predictability, I would say.
And there's no real plan with a side hustle. Like, it's like you're doing it day to day, no vision. You just want to do it to make some money. Whereas a business, like, you're basically splitting your time from income, right? Like, it's like you're not trading time for income as much. And then you have a vision for yourself, for your business, that goes beyond just making money, right? Like, you want to add actual value, impact in the marketplace. That's how I see it anyways.
Yeah. I'll start like when people say you got to add value. I remember I used to hear that and be like, what does that mean? Right. And it's true. You do, like, that's how you make money. You add value to people. But in a business, like, adding value means basically either helping someone solve a problem or help them reach a goal, you know, usually solve a problem. And then repeating that, having it so that you can do it like clockwork. And you have, like, I think of it in terms of creating assets, and then there's inputs, right? So an asset is something that you could sell, or it's like a sales funnel, things like that. And then there's inputs, or like creating content, maybe running ads, maybe hiring salespeople, or all the stuff that actually, like, if you think of it like in terms of like a big machine that, you know, stuff goes in and money comes out. That's how I kind of think of it. Kind of weird.
Yeah, and I see that in some of the modules and some of the things that you guys teach, you know, with those, you know, funny little drawings, and it's just like these steps, and then and the output, right? But if I'm just somebody who has been in that employee mindset my whole life, has just thought that, you know, I am worth X dollars per hour, and I will say that for you guys, it's definitely like, you know, that's not it. That's not like how you scale anything. But for someone who that's all they know, and like businesses for like special people who like built an app or some invention or something like that, what do you tell them? Where do you start? Like, where is it that you start? You know, whether it be auditing your skills, or, you know, figuring out what you actually like to do with your free time, or like, is it not even that? Is it like, yo, what can I do repeatedly to make money? Well, where do you start?
Why don't you answer this one, Ryan? I know you talk about this all the time.
I mean, the big thing for me, and like, you know, you might not like this, is like, I don't want to tell people where to start. Right? I would rather someone, and this is what I always say, is like, I don't want to work with someone who doesn't know where to start.
Okay.
I want to work with someone who has some scars, who's failed a little bit, but who has that kind of, you know, work ethic, right? But the fluffy answer is, yeah, just ask yourself, what do you want to do? What skills do you have? And who needs these skills? Like, it's the most basic advice I can give. But what I would say is that you have to kind of find your own thing. Like,
Right.
when I was getting started, I didn't
You
ask
can't
anyone.
have someone else tell you what you want.
Yeah. And like, I always say, like, you don't know how hungry you are until you're forced to starve. Like, if you're not at the point where it's like you're actively seeking how to get out yourself, then I could never help you. Right. Like myself, I stumbled onto the 4-hour work week. No one told me how to start. Read the book. I started drop shipping. Right. It was like within the span of a few weeks, I was like, you know what, I'm going to try this. Right. If you're someone who's been sitting there thinking for like months about, how can I get out of this? Then maybe your why just isn't big enough. Maybe like your why should be more potent and stronger than, I want to quit my job. It has to be more visceral than that. Right. So what I would say is figure out what your why is, like what actually motivates you. What do you want and why do you want it? And then from there, it's just, what skills do I have? What skills can I learn? What do I like? What are my passions, hobbies? How can I monetize this?
And just depends how big you want to grow the business, just to quickly add in there. Do you want to make like a 5K per month business or like 100K per month business? Because there's different skills. As you go up in income levels, you need different habits, different skills, different,
I wouldn't even think that far, to be honest, though. Like, I wouldn't even think about like the money first off. I would just think about like I thought about the money, obviously, but I would just think about like, what problems can I solve? Like, what kind of like, where can I add value? Like, and what I always say is like, just look at your life, look at your like lives of your friends, your family, and say, what problems do these people have that I can solve? And then usually millions of other people have the exact same problem, right? So that's kind of where I would start with that.
It makes a lot of sense putting it in that frame of like, what problems can I solve? But I think like it's actually, like you say, a bigger issue of, not even like, I think a lot of people say they want X, but do they even really like want it or need it, or like what are they willing to give up to actually get that thing? And that's I think the thing lost in the conversations when there's all this hustle porn out there, when people tell you work your 9 to 5 and then work from 5 to 2 a.m. on something. But it's just like that's not actually the way to do it either. But at the same time, people will just do what they're told they want to do. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They don't even know what they really want. So that's why, to me, the mindset stuff, coming back to all that, is so important, because it actually takes that level of self-awareness and actually having a real conversation with yourself. Not just, I don't know, my buddy, like, he has a business and he drives a sick Audi. Like, I'd love to, I want that. But that's very different than like, I fucking need this to live to realize my potential. And that's what I've figured out. And I'll tell you guys this here. Like, I figured out that, to me, that's like kind of like, if I were to put my why in 3 words, it's just realizing my potential. And to me, it's the biggest thing there is just like, we all have a potential that we can hit, right? Yeah. But so many of us don't realize it. And it's for whatever reasons. We don't have to get into the fucking million reasons that could be. But if I'm not like doing that myself, and I'm not helping other people do that, then I failed like my own shit. You know what I'm saying? And however that manifests, I don't know yet. Right now, we're doing podcasts. Right now, people want to label me a podcaster. We could talk about identity and stuff as well later. But it's just, these are just labels. These are just things. You know what I'm saying? They don't actually matter. Before that, I was an athlete. Before this, I was a student. And like, these are all just things, right? But I think at the end of the day, if you sit in a room, in a fucking silent room with a pen and a paper, no music, no external anything, and just have a conversation with yourself, deep down, like, if something, if you actually want it or not.
Yeah, I remember this post a few weeks back from this like an old internet marketer, not old, but he's just been around for a while, Alex Becker. And his thing was like, it doesn't matter if you're doing drop shipping, selling high ticket services, giving, belly rubs for all I care, right? What matters is how bad do you want it? And people always hear that and say it's so cliche, but it's the truth, right? Because like the top traits for like an entrepreneur are like, how open-minded are you? And how is your drive and your grit? because it doesn't matter what you do, just that you kind of devote yourself fully to it, right? You have full engagement in the process that you're doing. So that's why I hate when people ask, like, or not, I don't hate when they ask, but it's just like the wrong beliefs when you ask, like, what should I do to make money? Because the answer is, it does not matter, right? Just pick something and pursue it fully. Because that's the problem, is guys, like, they'll go like 1 foot in, 1 foot out with everything they do, and they'll never achieve success. And they're like, oh, it's because this model doesn't work, or this didn't work, right? Just because they didn't devote themselves fully to it.
And I think it's our relationship with failure as well, right? Like, we've almost been conditioned through school and all these other, things from our parents or teachers, all this stuff, that like failure is bad. You are bad because you did not pass this test, But what if, because you didn't pass this test, it just shows, you don't give a fuck. You're not interested in this thing. But if you were interested, you're killing it. You're crushing it. You know what I'm saying? But sorry, Ben, I had to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, just to just finish off that thought of what's it take for someone to get started, no matter what problem you solve, you have to realize that your business, let's say you're mowing lawns, your business isn't mowing lawns, it's selling, it's selling that your business is marketing and selling more people getting their lawns mowed, or belly rubs, or, whatever you're into, right? It's not just about doing the thing. It's about getting people to pay you to do that. And if I had to give anyone advice, study sales, study like marketing, copywriting, something about persuading people, influencing people.
And just to go beyond that quickly, like as Ben said, your service isn't even, and like, this is for people who have no idea, like, about this kind of stuff, is like, your service isn't even like, and this comes like the marketing side, like, it's not even mowing lawns. It's giving people a nice lawn, right? It's not giving people belly rubs. It's making them feel good, right? Yeah. It's the outcome, the solution, the result. Right. So, but again, as Ben said, study marketing, sales, and you'll learn all this stuff.
And like, taking that one step further, it's like, it's not even just giving them a nice lawn. It's giving them a nice lawn so they don't have to do it themselves, and they don't have to deal with all the bullshit themselves. And I've come to
their neighbors are impressed.
Exactly.
Right.
And,
like all these little things.
Exactly. And so to me, I'm still not fully like where I want to be with all this yet, right? But I know that I'm getting there, and I know I'm becoming that person that I need to be. And so when like, for anyone listening who's like, where the fuck do I start with any of this shit? It's like, do a fucking ruthless audit of what you're doing with your day already, right now, today. What are you doing with it? And this is an exercise that I started doing now, partly because of some of the people in Cape that I've talked to about this on one-on-ones. And it's just like, oh shit, I thought I was a decently productive person. I have a lot of different things going on. I thought, you know what, when I go to bed at night, I'm so tired that I just close my eyes, I'm done. But then when I did this audit, it's so mind-blowing how little I actually did in a day, because I'm just switching from task to task. I'm just trying to wear all these different hats, like spin all these different plates. And so when I got down to it, I was like, why am I spending like 3 to 4 hours of my day on just nourishing myself, just eating food? From like groceries to like the prep of the food to like the dishes that I got to do to like clean up everything. You know what I'm saying? So I just outsourced food like in the last like month or so. And I'm just like, you know what? Let me just get someone else to make and prep all the food for me. And dude, it's opened up so many hours in my day that I'm just like, I don't have to think. It's just I do this thing. And that's just one tiny example, but that can apply to so much stuff. And then on the financial side, it's like, what was my ROI of doing all that other shit before? Like, I thought like, oh, I'm saving money by cooking. No, now I'm saving money by not cooking. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, totally. It comes down to like just knowing how much your time is worth, right? Are you doing $1,000 per hour tasks or $10 per hour tasks? Like cooking, probably a decent one. I would suggest maybe getting a girlfriend, but I don't want to upset any of your listeners too much. I'm sure.
And I haven't cooked a meal in like 4 years.
Yeah, he just imported a Ukrainian girlfriend.
Yeah, cooking, cleaning, amazing, man. The best investment.
And then taking it like let's kind of switch gears a bit. I wanted to kind of come back to sales a little bit.
He's like,
you know,
let's get off this topic. Let's go back to
it's like, I'm about to be fired.
sales.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we could keep going down that topic. I just know where it's heading. So,
Okay, fair enough.
Back to sales for a second. One thing that, again, going back to my old mindset about things and my current mindset, I used to think sales was this sleazy thing. This is a used car salesman trying to get me to, buy this piece of shit and just fuck me up. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in Cape, and, I hope you guys don't mind me sharing this, but it's just so, I mean, and you guys already shared it through content and stuff anyways, but, it's actually you're doing a favor for the person. Like, you're actually doing a service for someone to try to help them when you're doing sales. Yeah, and the perfect analogy that you guys give is, a doctor. A doctor is, like, diagnose it, like, you come in with some kind of pain, some kind of problem. You don't want your doctor shooting the shit with you and talking about everything. And these things that like, I actually had a problem with when I was first starting with sales, is like, I just want to be buddy with everyone. And so why don't you guys kind of continue the doctor analogy and kind of break it down for people who are listening, who want to know, what the fuck you talking about? Like, sales is gross. Talk to me about that.
Yeah. So, like you said, the doctor analogy is perfect, because, like, if you go to the doctor, your arm's broken, or in this case, someone comes to us and their business has been stagnating or they can't grow it or whatever. And it's like, listen, you have this problem. We have a solution. Like, you've been trying the same things for the past few months. Nothing's working. You're not where you want to be. Let's not screw around. Let's fix it. It's not like a used car salesman. It's more like, okay, like, let's figure out, A, can we help you? One, is there a fit? Like, and B, I guess actually B would be, I guess, like, let's enroll them. Let's close them. What would you say about that, Ryan?
I just always defer back when I was working in wealth management. My old mentor, I was struggling with cold calling the first few weeks. I was terrible at it. I was nervous. I was, just completely bombing it. And just to give you a sense of the emotion that I was going through, when I picked up the phone, I would hope they didn't answer. I would hope it hit the voicemail, because I was so nervous to talk to people. Because I was like, you know what? I'm just a sleazy salesman trying to sell them. Like, I was sweating, petrified. And to try to solve this, I would play like old motivational clips of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. I would run around the office. And be
Did
like,
you say at one point you drink a couple beers?
Yeah, there was, man. There was an investment banking guy I worked with who was like, listen, drink a few beers. I was like 18 years old, 19, 20, those ages. And I was drinking beer in the office in the morning of a bank, like under the desk, because I was so nervous. Yeah. And then my mentor came to me and he was like, listen, you're not just taking things from these people, like, you're providing a valuable service, right? And if you know that you can help someone, it's your moral and your ethical duty to actually go out and provide them with this offer and to offer them your solution. And it might not be the best example, but it's like, if you were walking on the street and you saw someone had cancer, right? And you had the cure to cancer, would you go over to them and be like, here's the cure, right? Or would you be like, you know what? I don't want to impose. I don't want to go over there and talk to them because I'm a little bit nervous that they're going to think I'm like a scammer or, a sleazy salesman.
Yeah,
it isn't the best example, but it's a good one, right?
Yeah, I don't want to offend them,
Yeah. So if you have a valuable solution, like Ben and I, like, if we know we can take your business from 10K a month to 30K a month, right? We can solve your debt problems, your financial problems, whatever it is, like your stress, your anxiety. I mean, we're pumped to speak to you because we know, that we can probably help you if you fit certain criteria.
Yeah, and that's the big thing right there. Is just like, that dramatically shifted how I viewed any sales call, any kind of thing that I was doing. And mind you, this was even after I heard all this and like the modules and all this and that, and even people talking about it, I was still freaking out. I'm just like, bro, who the fuck's gonna want my shit? Who's gonna I don't know, like, isn't this a bit expensive? And this is just all head trash. It's all just all stuff that if I believe it, then there's no way I'm gonna close this deal. But then if I genuinely believe that what I'm providing is valuable, and you know what, like, it's priced accordingly. And you know what? Like,
Yeah.
I'm not worried about if I close you or not, because it's just like there's a bunch of other people out there who really need this. It just changes everything. It really just it. I
It
felt
does,
like
yeah.
it broke my brain open. It's just like, oh wow, it changes how you even carry yourself. And this is then coming back into the mindset stuff. It's like your posture improves. You start walking around a bit just more, just like, you know what? Yeah, I have a valuable high ticket service. Take it or leave it. Like, it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, again, it comes back to the mindset. We can teach you exactly the right strategies, the right things to say in a call, all the right tactics. But if you don't believe even in yourself or in your offer and the value of yourself, or you have weird beliefs about money, or you have weird beliefs about, selling is, I'm taking something from them, you're like shooting yourself in the foot, basically.
And it also manifests in even people who know this and who've started their business and have started selling, not wanting to raise their prices, right? And I think you guys probably deal with that a lot, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's just like people who price their services like completely undervalue what they're doing. And they might be getting sales now. They might have figured out that first level of like, I'm solving a pain point, but the next level after that is like, knowing what it's actually worth and communicating that to the market.
Yeah, a lot of times that just comes down to fear, like fear of rejection. It's like, well, let's say I'm selling my service for $1,000. I know it's worth $3,000, but like, what if they say no? I just want to be safe and just keep doing it for $1,000 when you could be earning way more. And there's all this weird stuff, but it just comes down to like that head trash usually.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you even see it when, when people are trying to sell all kinds of like different products and have all kinds of different things. I fall into this category, someone who doesn't have the focus and doesn't want to just focus on kind of one thing and actually even have complete confidence in just one offer, one thing. And I think I've seen you guys kind of tweet and put content and emails and stuff about this before, but it's just like selling something for $10K a month is the same amount of effort as selling something at like $500 a month. And like, why don't you talk about that a bit, and why is that? Like, why is it that it's still the same process, it's still the same principles?
Yeah, Ryan, why don't you tell the story of how we tripled our prices in our agency overnight?
Yeah, so we just, we were charging a decent price, but then we hired this coach. We paid a lot of money to hire this coach, and then we were like, listen, and I think it goes back to like, if you've never invested like $2K in yourself, for example, that you're going to find it hard to charge people $2K because there's like some little, like it's not congruent. So we paid a lot of money for this coach, and then overnight we basically tripled our price. And then we felt no resistance on sales calls. So it was purely a mindset thing, purely like we've never invested X amount in ourselves, so why would we charge X?
Right. And the clients were probably even higher quality, right? Like,
yeah.
A lot of the times, like people who, are, at the lower, price, they're tire kickers, and they're, even if you do close them, they're just a nightmare. And I've learned that kind of the hard way, kind of undervaluing my services, got a client, felt good about the win, and then you got this client that just sucks. Like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is just not doing great for anybody. And, this person is just difficult to work with and constantly asking questions. But then the clients that I have at like a higher tier, it's so easy to work with, so much less effort. Like, it's just the same thing. So it's really, that's really a powerful thing right there, man. I want to kind of switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about what you guys just mentioned a little bit there before. And it's like the role of coaches and mentorship. Now, for me, again, coming into this, I was always like, man, this is like, how can I be spending this much on this like little thing, right? And now, my mindset has completely shifted on that. And I actually just did hire a business coach, and I'm doing one-on-one. And this is someone from my city who's at a place where I would want to be and like beyond, right? And the amount that I spent on it made absolutely no sense to, even me. Like, I was like, what the hell am I doing here? But I just leaned in on that because I know, because I'm spending that amount, I know the value that I'm getting is probably 10x whatever I'm paying. So fuck it. You know what I'm saying? So talk about the role of mentorship and coaching for you guys. And you guys have openly talked about spending a lot on that shit.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing for me was just, it was two things. One, it was accountability, right? Because I'm a natural procrastinator. So I want to spend money so that I can kind of motivate myself to kind of move sometimes. But two, it's just basic economics. If you're at like 10K a month or 20K a month, and your coach is like, here is the process to get you to 50K a month, right? It's basic economics to me, to be honest, right? That's like an extra, whatever it is, like 300K a year. So basically any price below that, I'm like, let's go.
Yeah.
So
it always comes down to speed as one of the biggest factors, I think. If you want fast, if you have a big goal, let's say you want to, whatever your goal is, do you want to try to figure it all out yourself and, waste time, waste probably more money in the long term from just doing stuff wrong? Or do you just want a proven process that you can follow? And a part of it comes down to, I would say, environment too. Like if you can join a mastermind community, something like that, some kind of coaching program, even where, again, like you said, there's people who are like crushing it. You see people who are doing huge things, and you're like, for us, when we joined this other program like a year ago, there was this guy who looked great guy, looks like a dork. We're like complete dork. We love him, but he's like, yeah, I just hit 200K. And we were having dinner with him, and he's like, yeah, I remember he showed us a text. He's like, yo, my sales guy just closed a 10K deal. I just made 10K. And we're like, man, like this guy's like crushing. Now he's at like 750 grand per month, something like that. And we're like, if he could do it, like we could definitely do it, And like that was a huge thing for me, I think. So like that competitiveness, like you mentioned, the speed and accountability for sure, but also there comes back to that mindset thing. If you invest more into yourself, there's like this weird, I don't know how to explain it, like law of the universe, where it's like, well, let's say I just invested $20,000 into this coaching program. Before I was charging $2,000, now you have no problem asking for 10, 15K or 20K Absolutely. Or whatever, because it's just like, well, I can do it. There's more congruence.
Yeah. And then your mentorship also paid for itself, like so much over. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. We usually find anytime we invest in something, we make it back like first month, probably, if not sooner sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes it's only like one mindset tweak that makes it worth the money.
Yeah.
And people need to get like this, they need to see investment in themselves differently, as opposed to like, what do I get specifically in terms of like the deliverables, like a video course, how much one-on-one time, what do I get with this money, as opposed to like, what outcome do I want? And will this investment help me achieve that outcome? So oftentimes, like, you can pay like 30K for a mastermind, and you'll get like one insight that will completely change your life and makes it worth the investment.
1,000%, man. It actually makes so much sense now, intuitively looking at it and seeing it actually happen. But if you were to tell me back in December of 2019, oh, bro, we spend 30K, like 50K a year on coaching and stuff, I'd be like, these guys are fucking nuts. What are you doing? Like, what a waste of money. But that it just comes back down to like, what we're kind of conditioned to believe. And that kind of brings me to like one of the next topics. And like we talked about this a while back, but it's, your information diet and what we actually let in terms of content and courses and podcasts and books and all this stuff. And, in 2020, and all these social media platforms and all these different like areas you can get data points and information, there's so much noise out there that almost how do you filter what's actually going to help me move forward versus what's just someone trying to flip me their $15 Gumroad course?
Great question. Super important, because I actually just wrote a tweet about this earlier today. And because I used to be like the stereotypical like information hoarder. You know, I have books, and like I have a library or a bookshelf right here. Probably a couple hundred books I've read, and I was always looking for new tactics and new stuff like that. But I was broke, you know, and following a bajillion different people and listening to tons of different marketing podcasts and stuff. So this is like collecting tactics and stuff. I feel like people are going to like IKEA and buying furniture, but they don't have the instructions on how to put it together, you know? So like for me, when I focus down on, okay, let me just listen to one person, you know, go deep on, instead of reading 10 different books, read one book 10 times, master that book. You know, stop following all these different marketers who are like, it's this classic shiny object syndrome. Right. It's like, oh, let me try, for example, like creating an agency. And then like there's like an initial motivation where you're pumped to do it. And then you hit roadblocks, and then you're like, oh, I see this other guy doing dropshipping. Let me try that. And it's like, you continually start from scratch over and over, then rather than focusing on building the skills, which is really what business growth comes down to, you know, focusing on the right skills, the right, like 1 or 2 strategies or something, you know, and just getting better at that, not constantly trying new shit all the time.
Yeah, man, it's huge. And I was talking to Ryan about it, I think, on one of the last calls as well. It's like that dopamine hit, that dopamine rush when you enroll in some new course or buy some new book or listen to some new podcast on something, and it's life-changing. This is it. Oh my God, I figured it out. I got it. I got the secret. I know what to do now. And really, at the end of the day, it's just mental masturbation. You're really just trying to feel good in the moment that I actually achieved something, I did something, and there's no action to follow. And I'm guilty of this. I have done this, and even in the past year, even after all these changes that I've made, I've been susceptible to being like, oh, I should get this copywriting course, I should do this, I should do that, instead of just focusing on, you know what, I know what I already need to do. I just got to execute now. I just got to focus, have some clarity, and just going on this. So Ryan, let me ask you about this a little bit, man. Talk to me about clarity. How do you ignore some of the noise a bit better, and how do you just focus on what you actually need to do? Because that's a skill.
Yeah, so you know, I hate to sound like a parrot, but what it ultimately goes back to is, what do I want? Right? If you know exactly what I want, you can clearly trace the steps from A to Z and how to get there, right? You can have that directional certainty. But if you don't know what you want, if you don't know what kind of life you want, what vision you have for your life, you know, whether it's, you know, exactly what kind of cars you want to own, what kind of income you want, the value you want to provide, you're not going to know how to get there. So I always tell people, like, the first thing is to figure out, like, what kind of business you want to run and what kind of life you want to have, right? Because a lot of people, they'll build a life that fits into their business. So they really have no idea what they want, basically, right? Whereas I think you really need to build a business that fits into your life. So the first step is to figure out what kind of life you want. And then from there, you can figure out what kind of business you want, and then achieve some sort of clarity as to, you know, how can I build this, right? How can I achieve this? So again, first thing, figure out what you want, and then go from there.
Love it. Makes a ton of sense, man. So I'm gonna ask you guys now, what is it that you guys want? What's next? What's the next goals?
Bigger, better.
Yeah, man. Like, the big thing for me is just more freedom to do what I want, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
You know, I think the big thing for Ben and I is to build our business up to a point where, like, we're not working as much on the coaching side, you know, more high level, the marketing planning maybe. So we can spend our time more on building, whether it's like a SaaS product, whether it's investing in real estate. I think the big thing is just to, like, at least for me, and I always tweet about this, is just building generational wealth. And whatever business that you guys are running, if it's a client business, right? It's hard to build generational wealth that way. Unless
you're still capped. You're still capped at a certain point. You're still involved. There's still, you know, it's not Cape without Ryan and Ben per se until you get other coaches and stuff. So is that kind of the next move? Like get kind of more people who align with your guys' vision to be able to help with kind of one-on-ones and, you know, maybe weekly calls and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, that's why we brought on Darren with Suit Social, right? He's a good guy, good friend of mine. And we're like, you know what? He seems like a great fit, right? And that's part of like, you know, and it's like people often, they'll build a business to exit, right? Which is a big problem. Like they'll be like, how fast can I exit this? Whereas Ben and I, like, we don't want to exit anytime soon, but, you know, I'm just thinking like 10, 15 years out, like, where do I want to be, right?
Yeah. The business is a vehicle that
we
want to transfer into the long-term assets that create that generational wealth. But it's in terms of the business, where do we want to grow this? You know, like I recently have started thinking like, how can we, you know, like as far as like setting goals, rather than saying like, let's hit this amount of income per month, like how could we get, let's say 100 people to their first 6 figures, you know, or how can we get like 20 people to 30K per month, or how can we get, you know, people to 1 million, right? Like that's, I think when you start, for us, if you start focusing on that, you know, it's like, obviously the more people who get better results, the more case studies, testimonials we'll have, the more people who will be interested will see that.
The more podcasts you get invited on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it just kind of, it's good for focusing as far as like, how do I get better results? So, you know, for you, like, how do I help people launch, like, I don't know, like the #1 podcast for their category,
as opposed to just managing their podcast stuff. So it's like starting here, but it's like the next level is like, how do I kind of get people to the higher level results that can then help me get more and more people that way? So
yeah. Well, like your business will always grow on the results that you're getting for your clients. Like if you're getting very tiny results, you won't grow that fast. But you know, if you're really focusing on how can I make sure that they get the best results possible, I think.
So Ben, elaborate a little bit to me and everyone listening right now. What's bigger and better? What's next? What's that look like for you?
Yeah, just like getting to the point where, you know, we're bringing on coaches, we're bringing on salespeople. We could just help more people get, you know, if the goal is, let's say 100 people get to their first 10K per month, just doing that faster, right? So right now, you know, it is just, it's still pretty small in terms of like, it's just Ryan, myself, and we have Darren. We have another potential coach coming on, but, you know, I like to get to the point where we can just, you know, just grow a lot faster.
Okay. And so, you know, let's say a few years down the road, you're like kind of able to achieve those things. What is like what is the bigger, like, why? What is Ben's why? You know, Ryan talks a lot about that why, had that purpose, that mission. What is yours, man?
Yeah. You know, it's a good question. Like, I wish I had like an amazing, huge why. Like if I look at like we get people to create their vision map things, right? And my why that I think about is, you know, like what if we could get to the point where we just made a huge impact in terms of like helping people change the way they see money, the way they, you know, change how they make money, like just creating a massive movement. But
this still.
But in terms of myself,
yeah.
You talk about like, do I want like a mansion or like
here? Like, I'll say my why. Say my why, so Ben can think a little bit. My big why, you know, 15 years out, is to never have to like actively work in a business. And because like my big thing, like the thing that drives me in life is having a family and self-educating my kids. So my goal is, you know, to raise a family how I want, self-educating, homeschool, have the freedom to let them explore the world, do whatever we want, whenever, and to build that generational wealth. So, and this is a vehicle for that, right? To create this asset that produces income, adds value to the marketplace, and, you know, it's going to be there in 10, 15 years.
And I see that, man. It's great that you're like, it's great to have kind of the clarity on that kind of thing, because it's not like you have anything to hide when you're saying that. It's like, No, man, like there's nothing bad about the fact that I want to grow this business to a point where it has to do nothing with me anymore. It's now what's next, what's bigger, what's better. So yeah,
And I want 10 kids, man. So I gotta get started soon.
love it, man. Ben, have you got any kind of thing
Yeah.
you wanna drop? Sorry to put you on the spot there, man, but it's not that deep, bro.
It's not that deep. Just tell me your biggest dreams. Man.
Yeah, that's the biggest, most important
Yeah.
fucking thing that I could probably ask you right now on this podcast.
Yeah, you know, like I think I don't know. It's most people don't have a vision. This is funny because you know, like I have goals. So, you know, I like to have a house in the East Coast and one in like the mountains, maybe in Banff, close to Ryan. Maybe one down in the Caribbean. I have big kind of visions like that.
Yeah.
And
His main vision is he wants to have a beard like mine. Let's be real.
Oh man, I don't
That's
know.
the real. That's the real goal.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so
sorry.
live in the mountains for like 3 years.
I love it, guys. Man, this has been an amazing podcast already. Like, I feel like we could just sit here and talk shit for hours, but let's start to kind of wrap it up a little bit. We've kind of already almost over an hour. I'm sure we're gonna have more of these. I'm sure as I level up, as you guys level up, like there's a lot of, I can't wait to do this in person when this Corona shit is over. But let's kind of switch gears off business for a second. I wanted to actually ask about your guys' opinions on this whole Corona pandemic and how it's affecting everything. Let's get into it. Let's get into the sauce.
Go ahead, Ben.
No, you go first.
What did you want me to cover about it? Just like
Just talk the real. Tell me your opinions on it, because I do know that you're quite opinionated, and let's let loose, bro. Just say how you feel, because I think I share a lot of them.
honestly, man, like my super quick thoughts are that, you know, it's a real pandemic. Obviously, you know, it's affected people's lives, but it's not nearly as bad as they're making it out to be. And personally, I think it's like the government's way of, you know, encroaching on your rights and freedoms and destroying the economy for whatever reason. But, you know, like in my own town here of Calgary, I've seen probably like, so every morning I wake up and I walk my dog to the dog park. I've seen probably 15 or 20 businesses shutter in the last few months because of these restrictions and everything that are only impacting really a small subset of the population. And I think it's a gross violation of our rights and freedoms. Right. I think that the government needs to open things up, you know, quarantine those who are at risk, and let us get on with our lives. That's how I see it, to be honest. Because
we're not looking at all the other impacts, all the second order impacts of everything happening here, you know,
it's crazy, man.
Yeah, like higher mental health problems, suicides, alcoholism, you know, domestic abuse, all that kind of stuff. Not to mention, I don't think people are meant to be with their kids for that fucking long in a day. And you know, just a bunch of factors, man. So, you know, I think it's when you look at the numbers, when you actually look at like what's actually going down, it's not to downplay, like people are dying, like absolutely people are dying, but people also die all the time for a lot of things that we don't ban. And so I'm not saying it's just, I don't want to go all conspiracy theory and shit on us, but right now, but you know, there's definitely more to this, man. Like what, you know,
man,
why can Walmart be open but not like a small business? I don't know.
Yeah, man. And just think about like, you know, just from like an economics perspective, like think about like the long-term consequences of spending so much money on paying people to stay home because they're out of work. Like your grandkids are going to be feeling the effects of this, right? Like it's just insane. There's going to be crazy inflation. The dollar isn't going to be worth as much. It's going to be brutal.
You're going to have even more people like me asking for even deeper discounts to join the Church of Clientology.
Join Cape, man.
Cape and all that, yeah, man. Ben, any thoughts to add to that?
You know, when you see the statistics, you know, like yes, the virus is real. Like Ryan said, I think the buzz around it, the media, like the story around it, it's ridiculous. You know, like the actual numbers and everything, it's insane. And like here in Nova Scotia, for example, I don't even know if we had any cases in the past few months, but we're still locked down, and like things are like probably going to get worse coming up in the next month or two, since it's naturally flu season. And I don't know, I'm over it. I'm ready to travel again and go back to the way things are. Maybe move to Florida because they just they made it. You don't have to wear masks there.
Oh, really?
That's crazy.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm definitely over it. And like as Canadians, it's about to get cold as shit. And I know we've had kind of these like half-ass kind of things where it's like you could sit out on a patio, but you better wear your mask on your way to your table, because like all these like arbitrary rules. Like you could go to the gym and you don't have to wear a mask at all while working out, but between two machines, you better wear that mask. So all these like kind of arbitrary rules, right? But I know as Canadians, it can only speak for like our context right now. Like everyone's definitely talking about some kind of second wave or this and that. But look, to me,
where was the first wave?
Yeah, I know,
man. It's just how like their narrative changes. Like at first it was like wear masks, shut the economy down to flatten the curve.
Yeah,
we flatten the curve in terms of deaths, but they're still like wear more masks, do this. And I was in Banff 2 weeks ago, and outside, like the main strip in Banff, they had you wearing masks outside on the main strip. It's crazy, man.
Yeah, man. It's I don't really have like the answers for this shit. I don't think many people do. Kind of just got to do what they say, unless you just want to say like I got asthma, like I'm not wearing a fucking mask. But at the same time, like I think this winter is where shit's really going to kind of hit the fan, because now not only are you going to take away the somewhat social gatherings that people can still kind of have outside, but now you're going to add to that the fact that they're limiting. I don't know how it is where you guys are, but now they're saying like you can't have a gathering of more than 10 people. And like, how do you police that? Like, how do you know who's in your bubble and this and that? It's all just ridiculous. But I will say, like we're recording this right now on September 27th of 2020, and I will say that I don't think masks and all these things are going away anytime soon. Even if somehow COVID gets absolutely eradicated, I think like we've kind of let it get to the point now where it's just we're letting people tell us what to do.
And I think that's the scary thing. Like, obviously, I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole here, but it's terrifying to me that people in Canada, right? Because like we're all in Canada, are so willing to accept these little small encroachments.
Not even accept, but put you down for not accepting them.
Yeah. And then I have friends right now who are living in Eastern Europe, right? For like in like Ukraine, for example. And he posted on Instagram story yesterday, like him in this club, everyone's partying. No one's wearing a mask, right? Everyone's just sweating, having fun. And he's like, people just don't give a shit here.
Even Sweden.
So, Sweden's a big one.
Even Sweden, like you would think that they would probably be like completely the other way about this, but they're just like, man, fuck all that. And things haven't been that bad there. Anyways.
Again, this is the point of having a business, right? You can choose where you want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Freedom, right? So
anyways.
I don't want to go too down the rabbit hole here.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to end this podcast, guys. The freedom. That's it. At the end of the day, that's probably the most important thing. Forget about all the money. Forget about this, that, status, all this bullshit. At the end of the day, it's about freedom. I think that's probably that's what I'll fucking name this podcast, But
I wish I had some American Eagles and fireworks soaring behind me.
Don't worry,
trainers with bandanas.
We'll edit that shit in, man.
Perfect, man.
Before I let you guys go, I do this lightning round. Just 3 questions. I'm gonna ask them, and you guys can both have an opportunity to answer. I've just found it's less awkward ending a podcast that way. So
Let's do it.
I'm just gonna dive in. So, in your opinion, what is the worst advice being parroted out there, even in money Twitter and Gary V land, or just generally speaking? What is the worst advice that you're hearing out there?
Go to university. I seen a meme is a picture of someone sitting in a university class, and there was a picture of a toothbrush with the headline
I
says,
saw that.
"Is this toothbrush sexist?" I was like, "Why am I paying $9,000 for this?"
Oh, man.
Yeah, so I think everybody kind of knows it. What about you, Rob?
Oh God, I don't even know. There's so much bad advice. I would say it's either, A, like you have to go to university. I think 2 is like, you have to penny pinch, right? Like I'm all for, being frugal, but I feel like most people have an earnings problem and not a savings problem. So I think that, you should save, but if you're like all your mental bandwidth is being spent on saving, you're not going to have any ounces of effort for earning more. So
we all know that guy who like refuses to buy a coffee out because it's like, I could make that at home. I have Folgers. I got a whole like, all right, man. Like, good luck. Yeah, you're getting rich because of that decision. Fuck yes. Yeah.
They used to be like Ben a few years back. We would go to the bar and Ben would like want to split the tab, or if he paid for it, he would remind me like a few weeks later, Ryan, you owe me $3.40.
Oh, bullshit.
100% true. 100% true.
I love it.
He doesn't like me saying it, but yeah.
Called the fuck out. I love it.
Yeah.
Second question here. Okay, I kind of already asked this before, so probably not the best question to ask, but what's your next big move? Actually, you know what? I didn't ask it like this. So what is your next big move that you're going to announce here on the It's Not That Deep podcast? The next one, the next big thing that you're about to do that, you haven't told many people about yet.
Next big move.
Well, 1, we're raising our prices massively, hopefully soon. 2 is probably just we're going super heavy on paid ads right now. So you're gonna see our faces. Our faces are going to be Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, everywhere.
You heard that, fucking people here in Ottawa. They're even going to have like a running ad just here.
Yeah. And then Ben is hopefully going to move to Calgary soon.
Oh, really?
We'll see.
Ryan, some peer pressure in me to go.
Dude, I want to get out there, man. I'm actually gonna come out there someday, and like I've never been out west like that. I've only been to Vancouver, and I've always wanted to go to Banff.
I got it. We'll have our mountain mastermind. That's what we should do.
Mountain mastermind. That's fucking badass. Get like a fucking badass cabin.
Yeah.
Just a bunch of fine whiskey,
cigars, whiskeys.
Scotch.
Yeah.
I'm there. Fucking count me in. Man. Last and final question before we end this podcast today, guys.
My beard is natural. Just go ahead.
It's an implant. He has fake beard implants.
Yeah, we all know that's true, man. How do you want to be remembered?
The Golden God.
The Golden God.
No, that's a joke. I want to be remembered as someone who, was a positive force of, in the world. Someone who changed a lot of people's lives and was damn good looking and,
I agree with all those things.
Overall, pretty awesome.
That last one there. But for sure.
Last time I'm on this podcast.
Honestly, man, for me, it's like, again, it might sound a little cliche or whatever. It's like, I just want to be remembered as like a good, like a good father. Like back when like in the future when I have my kids, I just want them to remember me as like a good, honest man who provided a great life.
I love it, guys.
That's it, man.
Beautiful. There's no better way to end this podcast. Tell people where they can find you, how they can enroll in the program, your social media, all that. Shout yourselves out right now.
Sure. The easiest place to get started is join our Facebook group, the Church of Clientology. I think if you just search it, you'll see a picture of us. Ryan looks like a pope, and I looks like some kind of cardinal or something. I don't know.
And just join there. I'll link it below in the description as well.
Yeah, or Ryan's email list potentially.
I would say just follow me on Instagram. It's freelancer2, as in the number 2 CEO. Just freelancer to CEO. Super simple. Or the best place.
I love it, guys. Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate it. Last thoughts here. I will say you guys have impacted me. You guys have made an impact in my journey. I'm very glad to have you guys in my corner. And let's just keep elevating. Let's just keep leveling up. I'm very excited to see the future. To anyone listening, just remember it's not that deep.